Bang, bang. As you can tell, I have a special guest with me. Indubitably, we're going to make it happen. We're going to get it cracking. Hats are going to be flattened. We're doing what we do, and we're doing it in a real way. And we're coming with a whole lot of energy, right? So what I wanted to do, man, is I wanted to give Flacco his own special profile, and there's a reason behind that. You know, I wouldn't even be in this YouTube game if it wasn't for one Mr. Flacco. I actually reached out to him. We got to talking about a year and a half ago, and he decided that for no other reason he should give me an opportunity with an interview on stories written by a current prisoner. At that time, that's when Flacco was doing interviews for Tony, and they were working simultaneously hand in hand to make that channel grow, to which it has grown and exploded. You already know what happened. So Flacco played an intricate part into a lot of this prison genre as far as up north goes. Of course, you already had fashion. So that way he could reiterate his story. And I wanted to take it way back. So without much being said, man, and a menudo style in a direct fashion, Mr. Flacco. You guys all know Flacco from Milpitas. So Flacco, what's happening, brother?
What's good with it, brother?
Oh, man, chilling like a villain. So I wanted to get deep into this profile, man. I wanted to start when you were a kid in the city of Milpitas. What was going on? What made you get involved in the gang lifestyle?
Okay, well, I moved from Hayward, California at a young age. I was actually born in Hayward, moved to Milpitas. In the neighborhood the area I grew up with, Milpitas is kind of interesting. It's what you call the most diversified cities. They had a couple areas out there that were the first interracial cities back in like the 50s and so forth, man. Because the Ford plant moved out there from Richmond, California. With that came a lot of African Americans. So there's a big African American culture out there, Hispanic culture, and so forth. So it's very diversified, man. And growing up as a kid, you know, Milpitas was different back then. You could be driving through a hood, fields, and then new homes. It's all surrounded together because it was a small city with little pockets. So the school I went to was probably one of the poorest schools, which was Robert Randall Elementary Schools. And so back then, you know, breaking was in. Everybody was into that, riding their little pit bikes and beatboxing and doing all that kind of stuff. It was the era before the gangs. Now, there was always gangs, but it was a little bit different back then. You know what I'm saying? And so growing up out there as a kid, I started to hang out with older kids at a young age. Like I was 9 years old, running around with kids that were like 14 years old. You know what I mean? I was 10 years old in fourth grade with a girlfriend that was in eighth grade. You know what I'm saying? So I was already a little bit more mature beyond my years. And a lot of them, as they went into junior high, they started to branch off and go into other gangs. You know what I'm saying? Like the movie Colors came out at that time. So some of these dudes thought they were Crips for a while. Believe it or not, a lot of people thought they were Crips out there for a minute. There really wasn't a strong presence of Nortenos out there. There was a few, but it was really kind of unthinkable at that time. So naturally, you want to be a gangster too. It was a popular thing. It went from breakdancing and beatboxing to being gangsters, you know. At a young age, like I got on probation, I think by the time I was 9 years old for stealing car hood admits, the Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
I was running around and taking them off that. And we got caught trying to take a Chrysler from a van, bro, because we just acting like kids. And we used to go bury them and shit in the dirt and shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Make our little fake chains and shit like we were cool. Oh, yeah. The rap scene was important back then, you know. Run DMC, Beastie Boys, Too Short, Two Live Crew, you know, those Ice-T, you know, Colors and all that. Those were popular things back then.
Yep.
You know, so now being a diversified city, I didn't experience any type of racism out there. Mm-hmm. I had Black friends, Filipino friends, Mexican friends. Everything was out there. It's a very diversified city. And like I said, different areas. You could have a rich area and a poor area in the same area, because everything was built up in the 80s. So they had like a lot of fields in different areas, and they used to started building those areas. I'm from what they call traditionally like the south side of Milpitas. Calaveras, Park Victoria, that area. Which is on one side you have, which would be Casa Grande apartments, which would be where all the blacks were at back then. Criminals at large, CAL, you know, Temple Street and all that right there. I was over here, what you call Selwyn, Edsel Shirley, and Dempsey Road. This was all Hispanics, this whole neighborhood. And that's the school I went to. So naturally, my closest friends were Bolivian, from Mexico, and so forth. And so at first, we were just like trying to be cool, like, you know, look like gangsters. We weren't cholos at first. But then growing up in the neighborhood, they started seeing the homeboys that were there, which were brown priders at that time. We weren't Nortenos at first. Yeah. We started dressing, changing our thing. You know what I'm saying? Started dressing like cholos a little bit. Then it went from wearing brown to wearing red, you know? So it's just naturally gravitated towards that lifestyle. And this is like around like 1990. And next thing you know, it went from being no Norteños out there to being a whole bunch. You know what I mean? Because a lot of homeboys that lived in Milpitas had family members from Palmas, ESF, or had known family members like the Matas and so forth that were from San Jose. So we were influenced by that. You know, and they come to get-togethers, barbecues, you know, drinking and so forth, and they're lacing us up about being Norteños.
Yeah. So I did time with Vatos from Milpitas back in the days in YA, and I remember them always kicking it real close with the homeboys from San Jose, from Sanjo. What was the makeup of? I know the city of San Jose is one of the biggest cities in California. Period. What was the makeup of you guys? Were you guys basically watching Sanjo for their stilo and whatever they did, you guys kind of went with it, or were you guys different and kind of did your own thing?
Okay, for a minute we started to do certain things that were a little bit different. Like we used to take our belts, you know, the long belts.
Yeah.
And we used to put a loop in it like this and hang it down like that, so it's like a tied rope. Then we used to take some of our sweatshirts and we used to cut them right here, or dicky jackets, and we baby cuff them. You know what I'm saying? So we had a whole, like, we tried to adapt our own little stilo, but San Jose would probably be the ones that we emulated ourselves off the most. Yeah. Because basically the east side of San Jose and Milpitas border each other.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, it's a nice part of East San Jose, but they still call it the east side. And, you know, we had a couple of homeboys, like from my hood, man, like anybody from Capitol Park knows the homeboy Leonard Moreno, Joker from Capitol Park. He also bangs my hood too. They never said shit about it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So at one time back in the 90s, we were going to actually click up with them when they were Colonial Maravilla through Joker. But they wanted us to change the name. We're like, nah, that ain't going to happen. We're Milpitas. We're from Milpitas. Yeah. And we had other homeboys like, let me see, like Jesse Venegas, Silencio, you know what I mean? All these other cats from Horseshoe, they went to school out there with us. So we knew a hell of homeboys from San Jose. Yeah. You know, gangster from 12th Street. And a lot of them that we knew were basically homeboys that spoke Spanish. My hood, anybody tell you during that generation, they all spoke Spanish. A lot of my homeboys were actually from Mexico. Yeah. So we had a little bit, you know what I mean? Little bit different stilo, but I mean, San Jose was pretty much a big influence either way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know that towns around the San Jose area, Mountain View, what's the other one? Sunnyvale, Milpitas. You guys have all basically San Jose set the trend for you guys, but you guys all adapted and had your own different stilos. And that's what I noticed. The homeboy from Milpitas was different. You know, he was different. He wasn't behind. He was simultaneously side by side with them homeboys, but he had a different stilo. More, I would say, and quietly as it's kept, I'm just going to keep it real, kind of that more cholo stilo. You know, more like you say, creased up, baby cuffed. Just had that style, I noticed. So, okay, you get into gangbanging, you get jumped in. At what age do you get jumped in? And then now you're established. You're a Norteno. You guys are doing it. And what's going on? How was the gangbanging in the 90s?
Gangbanging in the 90s was crazy. Okay, so all my homeboys from my hood were a little bit older, right? There was probably about, let me see, when I went into my freshman year, they were all seniors or out of high school, that generation. But I got jumped into that generation. And so we just started kicking it. Like slowly in the hood, they'd come through because we had a pad that nobody was at. So they'd come kick it, you know, come drink. We'd have females over there. So they were going over there for the females. You know what I'm saying? And so eventually we're at one of my homeboys' houses. And there's probably about 10 that are my age or younger. And, you know, we were talking about, we thought we were going to be the second generation and so forth, and this and that. And, you know what I'm saying? We were just trying to make our bones. We got off a few times, like, you know, one time with some biceps one time, they got stupid at a homeboy's pad and they called the one homeboy up and we just got off. We instantly jumped in. Yeah. And another incident happened with some Asians, like about 30 Asians tried to chase after my ass. Another homeboy. And when I got to their house, we called them guys. They came out the house and they went and smashed on like 30 dudes. I mean, literally, it was like a fucking movie, bro. They were fucking just throwing people all over the place. And eventually got jumped in at my homeboy Boo Boo's house. But the reason why they first jumped us in was because they were drunk and they wanted to fuck someone up. Right? So I was like, I'll go first, bro. And next thing you know, fucking Vince comes out, goes, who wants to get jumped in? Because like, bam, next thing you know, I didn't get one hit, bro. I was on the ground covered up, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then the homeboy Leonard came through and he got pissed off about it. He goes, man, we ain't supposed to be jumping homeboys. We ain't gonna be doing that shit no more. That's for when we were younger. Yeah. We'll fuck you up if you fuck up out here, because the whole motto was this, that unless someone pulls a gun, we weren't supposed to run from any type of fucking fights. If they were outnumbered us, we had to engage. It didn't matter. It did not matter. Because if you did, you were a ranker, you were a Levi, you were a Soka, all that stuff. You know, we didn't want to be like other cats. So say if there's 5 of us, we see 2 of you, we're going to get that ass.
Oh yeah.
We're going to run up and get you. If there's 2 of us, we see 5 of you, we're supposed to rush those 5 if we're funking.
Yeah, you got to engage.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know,
gotta,
and as we get into the story, that's what led to me catching my first prison case because of that.
Yeah.
But gangbanging, it was like, it slowly became gunplay later on.
Yeah.
But like before, it was more like this. Look, we used to say we're not going to shoot at homeboys. We'll fight with homeboys, but there's no reason to shoot. We only wanted to shoot or try to stab, you know, Sudanos at the time or Africanos, because we used to funk a lot with the blacks too back in the days.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. We didn't. Nobody got along with anybody back then.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, if you were a homeboy from San Jose and we knew you, then you could come through our hood, kick it anytime. If you lived in our hood, we got to know you, you were good. But if you came through the hood and you were wearing something like Santa Clara or San Jose, we're going to tell you to take off that hat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And there's going to be enough heads there that you're going to end up taking that hat off one way or another.
There was a lot of head tripping.
And the same thing, I mean, time we were at Wiener Schnitzel and they tried to tell my homeboy he had to take off the Milpitas shirt. We're like, nah, he ain't taking it off. What's cracking? This is Santa Clara Street. You know, so there's that kind of shit used to happen a lot, man. Like, you know, and see the thing is like Gilroy has a stronghold too, man. A lot of good homeboys out there. Sunnyvale, Mountain View. And so our whole theory out there growing up in Santa Clara County was this. Most of these hoods that you guys know about, like Bahamas, Eastside Hoods, Capitol Park, they have generations, right?
Generations.
But each generation ain't that deep. They're only like maybe 30 to 50 deep, sometimes even 25. We got just as many heads. So if anybody wanted, they can get it too. That was our mindset, that everybody was on equal footing out there. There was no monster hood like you have out there in LA where they have like hundreds and hundreds of heads. Nah, they're like 30, 40 deep. That's it. It's just some have a little bit more recognition because of a long past.
Exactly.
Like Horseshoe and all that, so they're known. You know, but I used to kick with a lot of homeboys from everywhere, man. It just M Street, Horseshoe, Capitol Park, you know, Meadow Fair. Every hood you could think of, I knew somebody. Because I went to all the schools in San Jose. I went to like Independence, I went to Overfelt, San Jose Community, Foundry, all of them. So I got to know a lot of homeboys as I was out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a trip. It's a trip. A lot of those old barrios, like I remember you mentioned one, me and you were talking a while back, Barrio Monte Alban. You know what I mean? That's an old school hood.
When Chemo got the joint.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of my homeboys, if they spoke Spanish, so certain homeboys that spoke Spanish, like the ones from Montalban, they would, you know, like my homeboys get down sometimes, right? So I met Chemo, I met Weddle, and a couple other cats from them.
Yeah, that's an old school hood.
They were with the business,
I've always wondered that, Flacco. I've always, and you would be the one to know this. Why? Okay, down south, that's where everything's derived from. That's where the original barrios, and I mean not barrios were established. You got barrios from the 20s, 30s, Evergreen, White Fence, Clanton, just old hoods down in LA. In San Jose, of course, you got Horseshoe and Palmas that are pretty old, you know, from the 60s.
A lot of those came from LA, though, believe it or not.
Yeah, they also had Clanton in San Jose, as well as Vicky's Towns and several other hoods. And then, of course, in Salas, you got, you know, the original fruit stand and then the Mission District. These are some of the older hoods. And then, of course, Oakland had barrios. But why was Northern California so slow to catch up? I always wondered why we didn't have barrios that were ingrained in the 30s and 40s. Was it more because it was migrant workers up north, less cities, maybe more fields? I don't know.
I think the answer to your question is back in those days, it was more spread out.
That's what I'm thinking.
And so the neighborhoods were not really like gang neighborhoods. They were neighborhoods. They were barrios, but they weren't like really associated with any gang titles.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
I talk to a lot of guys that say the same thing. Like Southerners, they say the exact same thing. They're like, because they're more congested. There's so many hoods, whereas we're spread out. You know.
So we're you know what I mean? Like now everything's populated. Like my city when I was growing up was only like maybe 38,000. Now it's like 80,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? San Jose was only maybe like 500,000 back then. Now they're over 1 million.
Yeah.
Fremont's big. You know what I mean? We didn't really associate too much with Fremont. That was another county, but we bordered Fremont. Yeah. But it was weird because between the last area of Milpitas to Fremont was like 5 miles apart. It was all industrial stuff. So we had no reason to really associate with the East Bay.
Yeah, they're doing their thing. It's a whole different stilo too. The East Bay and South Bay are two totally different stilos.
Fremont was the closest as far as the East Bay and Dakota, as far as the homeboy stilo.
Yeah, yeah, you know, and they still are. They still are, man.
Oakland too, right? But I mean, you know, that's a whole other story. But you know, growing up out there, man, it was everybody was out to get that recognition, bro. Everybody wanted to, you know, what I mean, be looked at as the downest vato, you know, what I mean, having the highness. It wasn't about making money or anything. It was about how many people you could beat up, you could stab or shoot.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? That's what your resume was. It wasn't about how much money you had in your pocket. The NF was never talked about.
Never.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Never. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You'd hear maybe the structure, then people would get all quiet and stuff. You know what I mean? You'd shut your mouth, but
Yeah,
you would never hear about the NF. To us, the NF, what we looked at it as, was like an Italian mob.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't speak on it.
You
know what
never
I'm saying?
seen them, and when you did see one getting out, it was just everybody was like in awe. Like they'd whisper, "Hey, that's a big homie," or and even back then they didn't even call him that. It was just like no one knew.
Yeah.
So this is a question I've always wanted to ask somebody from the San Jose area, Milpitas. Who laced you up to let you guys know that Sureños were the opposition? See, I know in my hood we didn't get laced up that Sureños were the opposition. We kind of just knew, we kind of knew it.
I think the same thing, bro. Like, we didn't really have any at first. You know what I'm saying? We didn't come until later, so we go to San Jose. So, but back then, like, I gotta be careful because sometimes people take offense, man. But like, to be honest with you, we weren't taking them serious, bro.
Yeah.
They weren't. A lot of them were not. A lot of them were not about that action, bro. And I'm not trying to talk smack or anything. I'm keeping 100 from what I experienced.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, there was a few like Sharky from Canton. He was out there. He blasted at me one time. You know what I'm saying? Dreamer from SSP, a couple other cats. They were kind of with it. You know what I mean? But other than that, like basically, like we used to see them catch them on the bus or something, and we jam them up. Like, where you from? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I don't bang. But yet they're wearing a hairnet and fucking a blue Cascade thing. Let me see. You know what I mean? Or they're wearing nothing, no colors. But then we'd ask them, let me see your belt. That'd be a dead giveaway. They didn't want to show their belt. I'd just take off on them on the spot.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when they show their belt, it'd be fucking blue out of no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or they would say this: these are my brother's clothes. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to badmouth them because they ended up establishing their presence back then.
Yeah, they did.
They're homegrown. There was a lot of them that were still riders back then because every once in a while we'd run into some hitters out there. And the fucked up thing about that was me being younger, right? I'm so used to the ones that were fucking so soft and being weenies out there that when we see the ones that were hitters, they were bringing it, bro.
Oh yeah, they're bringing it to you. San Jose is it's just like Atwater, close to Merced. It's a stronghold for Southerners. It's very well established, and it just has always tripped me out. But they, like you said, they have a lot of old school homegrown barrios as well as barrios that gravitated from down south and established in San Jose. I remember seeing a San Jose Sureño the first time with a big old shark on him. I couldn't believe it, but he was what he was, and he was with the business. But yeah, just like you said, I kind of just knew. We kind of knew. So okay, fast forward, you're gangbanging now. You're in the mix. You're starting to get caught up. When's the first time you find yourself incarcerated behind a gang-related issue?
When I was, I think, 14 years old, some Filipino Crips were living around the block, and some shit happened with something, man. I was with somebody asked. I was with the homeboy Jimbo. Actually, someone brought his name up. I forgot all about him. His dad was an OG named George. His stepdad actually. So we were over there, and they tried to do something. So we went, and then there was another homeboy that lived right there. His name was Max. His cousin was Kojak from Eastside Hood. So a lot of times dudes from Eastside Hoods would go see him sometimes, or homeboys from San Jose. So Max says, let's fucking go. Because we used to just drink, me and Max, all the time. And I was just a youngster, and he was about 19 years old. So he wanted to set the tone. So we went over there. And as soon as we get over there, the motherfucker started running into the house and shit. And fucking Max is like, it's on like Donkey Kong with a big old boulder, all half drunk, dozer, do this and shit. And we break a window of the car. The dudes call the cops, and these are supposed to be some gang members. They're from a gang called Triple S, and they were called SBP. It was some dude named Stiper. They came and fucking identified us in the lineup. Took all of us to jail. He went to the county jail. We went to juvenile hall.
Yeah.
And they got us for assault and battery. That was one of the first cases I got caught up in.
Okay.
And going to juvenile hall, it was anybody that's never been to juvenile hall, man, that was for violence. I've been to juvenile hall already, though. It's kind of a nerve-wracking experience. You know what I'm saying? Because especially being from a small town, you know what I'm saying? There wasn't always homeboys from my hood that were in there. Most of my homeboys were older. So I'd be in there on my own sometimes. So you had to fight for your respects. You know what I'm saying? And being a scrawny kid, I was a scrawny little kid. I was not no punk. I was not no bitch or nothing like that. I would handle mine. But I wasn't no hardcore rider, if that makes sense. I became into that later on.
Yeah.
So, if anybody came at it, we're going to fight. You know what I mean? I can fight. But I hadn't got that you cross a threshold when you go from fucking just being a regular homeboy to where now you're fucking with the shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you don't give a fuck. So
Once that
that
flame
happened, it
gets
didn't happen
started,
till when I was 18 years old. And it was
yeah.
starting to happen when I was 17 in the boys' ranch because I started getting off into a lot of shit in there, like fighting other homeboys, getting into it with Sureños and earning my respect. You know what I mean? There's a couple dudes that were like fucking people feared and shit that tried to come at me like, hey, let me get that pull stick. I'm like, nah, fuck, I'm using this. You know what I mean? He goes, fuck you. And the dude tried to tell me, fuck you. I go, well, fuck you then. It was a big old dude they called Monstro. And he looked at me and he walked away. You know what I mean? I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, you got to be like that because otherwise they're going to try to punk you in juvenile hall, bro.
Oh,
They
right
will.
up the top. You
know
got to
what I'm
hold it
saying?
down.
And so, you know, we had the incident when some Sureño came in from San Fernando Valley. You know, who was there was Shorty, Clayton Clark, you know, Lencho's second in command, another homeboy from Capitol Park. I'm not going to really mention his name, and a couple other homeboys that were from bigger hoods. And so I'm already in the mix, like well respected already, right? Like everybody else. So I didn't have to prove nothing, but we're in there talking shit to the dude because to us, when we seen San Fernando Valley, we don't know any better. We think in LA.
We all did.
This dude didn't even speak Spanish. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he had like 3 dots here, SF something, right? So we're talking smack. I'm like this to him, like we're being bullies basically to him. You know what I mean, I'm like this. He's right next to me. I'm calling him this and that, a bitch, or this and that. And this dude gets up like this and stretches his arms like this in front of the TV. It just turns around, takes off on the homeboy from Mountain View. Bah, bah, and he really was putting tips on homeboy. Everybody backed up. Now, all these homeboys, man, no disrespect to them, Shorty and all these other cats, these motherfuckers didn't do shit, bro. And I couldn't let that happen. So I grabbed the fucking chair, and I hit this fucking dude with a fucking chair. Bam. The homeboy got to get up after that. And then next, you know, me and that homeboy were getting off with the Sureños right there. As the other dudes didn't do shit. You know what I'm saying? So that already kind of set that in my head that, you know what, just because you're from a big hood or this and that doesn't mean you're going to be about the shit. Because they should have got off. They should have got off from day one right there.
It seems like most of the time you'll probably agree, Flaco, that, and I'm not going to say everyone, man, you know, because I don't want people to get all frustrated and feel some type of way and start and unhit that like button and unsubscribe. But I will say this: a lot of these people from these larger neighborhoods had it more comfortable than others. People from small hoods seemed like they had to fight to earn that respect just a little bit more, you know. That's the way I've seen it growing up. You know, people that were like from big, well-established hoods already. I mean, I'm speaking for up north, and I'm speaking for down south because I can't speak for down south. I don't know how they have it, but I'm saying up north was kind of like they were comfortable already, man. They had hella homeboys. They go to juvenile hall. There was guaranteed homeboys from their hood, their audio. So it was like they didn't have to wiggle unless they had to. Whereas homeboys that were on their own, or there was a very few of them, we had to establish and had to, you know, show out, or we were looked at some type of way. It was homeboy favoritism.
Bro, I seen this happen when I was there. You'd have the homeboys from San Jose right there, the homeboys from Gilroy right there, and then me by myself.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
San Jose's always been known to play the Ramflas, man.
Now, don't get me wrong; those homeboys I seen later on, right? Like, you know, they're all cool. They're cool dudes and shit. But like, they knew I knew, bro, because I remember that shit. We were like, you know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers should have got off point blank, but they didn't do shit.
Exactly.
And
so you get back out. So you get out. Let's get out of juvenile hall. You're in there establishing. Now you got that mentality. You know what it is to be locked up, at least incarcerated halfway. You get out, you get back into the mix on the streets. What was it like now having that mentality? Was it anyone could get it, or were you really
anybody could get it, bro? Anybody could get it, bro. I was taking off on everybody on site. Anybody, man. Anybody that I seen, I was getting that ass, bro. It didn't matter where you're from. I just had that gangster mentality. Like, I didn't give a fuck. And that's what kind of led me to start playing like that out there. There was an apartment complex that they started to fill up with a bunch of Sureños that were coming from LA, like a special program to get out of the gang lifestyle. So I was there with me and the homeboy Dennis Ortiz, wino from Horseshoe. We used to kick it all the time, me and him, right? And I used to, when we had homeboys, right? From I'd say that he had to ride in the trunk because he was from San Jose, right? And he was a good sport about it, man. We used to fuck around. But so we were doing a lot of stuff back then, right? And so on site, we like go to Gramercy. I'd have him in the trunk. He'd have a fucking golf club. I told him if I hit the brake twice, it means they're right there. Get out. He'd have a ski mask with a golf club. I do it. He'd jump out. Bam. Then next thing you know, we're getting off with the cats. And so we started seeing these Sureños out there in Milpitas, and it was hit and miss, right? So one time I'm driving. I have a 79 Regal. He's in the car, and some dude named Joker, that's from my hood or from the BMN generation, was in the back seat. And Calaveras Park, Victoria is like Martin Luther King and another busy street, bro.
Yeah.
In Merced, it's like the busiest street. So as I'm coming off Calaveras to make a right on Park Victoria, coming from the freeway. I see them go this way, some Sureños that were in CRX. So on instinct, man, I just stopped the car, boom, put it in park. It's like 3 in the afternoon. I just rushed the car, like broad daylight. These were older cats. As dude starts getting out the car, I start taking off on dude, right? He tries to reach and grab something, but I kept on taking off on him. The little ones came out. It was the little one that dropped me. Came from the side, bam. Now, Wino would get so drunk off like 2 beers, but, you know, he wasn't no plunk. So it took him a while to get his seatbelt off because I had an old school Regal. Basically, he gets out, man. He comes out there and like, it's like, I'm finding 3 dudes. And next thing you know, I have like 2 dudes on me. And I'm looking, I see this dude fucking Andy to the side. And he has one of my crowbars. And he's like, here, Wino. I'm like, motherfucker, why don't you jump around these dudes? You know what I mean? Eventually, I get up and shit. And we fucked them up. Then we started fucking them up at the end. Like, I'm all busted and bloody and shit, man. It was like, all right, we got off. Fun times, right? We got them, they got us. So we go back to the hood. We drive up. All the homeboys are posted up there. They thought I got in a car wreck because I had blood all over me. So next thing I see fucking Wino. He's chasing fucking Joker around the fucking apartment complex, right, with a fucking crowbar, trying to get his ass, right, because he left us hanging.
Yeah, to participate.
So I'm like, fuck that. I'm gonna go get this dude Joker. He left me hanging. So I catch up to Joker and shit. I get out the car, man. I basically threw him level on the hood. I said, man, you ain't no Norteno. Bam, and I hit him. I dropped him. I started stomping on his fucking head. And I think about a week later, I ended up fucking his bitch. You know what I'm saying? On purpose. Anyway, that's just how it was, bro. So we go post it. I'm mad, bro. I have my shirt off and shit. My little scrawny ass. I have a red pony on my head and shit. And we go post up on the corner because we're like trying to catch these fools. And next thing you know, this bicycle comes up named Oaxaca. Now he had the plug for the dope and the guns out there in the streets and so forth, right? And I asked him, I go, you a part of this? Because one time he tried to tell me he was a Sureño, and then he said, oh, I'm just joking around. And he takes off, right? And next thing you know, about 3 minutes later, that car comes by that we just got off with. So we go get in my Regal. Some homeboys start going over there on bikes. We have my car full. I have Wino driving, right? When we go up in the apartment complexes, it's like one of those one way. It does a loop. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They blocked both sides, bro, and started running at us with fucking guns. Homeboy Wino didn't even fucking put the car in park. My car in park, and he just jumped out with a crowbar and just threw it at him. Me and the homeboy also jump out, and we're like, fuck it. When it comes to guns, we're running, bro. We just started running. And we're running through these apartments called Century Apartments, and I won't ever forget it. There was this black lady with her child right there, and we're running through a park, an apartment park. They just started capping. Boom. Almost got hit, you know what I mean? We get to the corner, we hide by the fire department. We wait there for a minute. Next thing you know, we're like, okay, it should be good. Now, to get to my house is like a long street you have to run across. Do we run into them again when we're running across the streets? So I don't say nothing, right? I asked my mom, hey, mom, I need to go pick up my car about 15 minutes later. So we get there. When we get there, the whole fucking apartment complex is fucking sealed off. They're doing the little marker thing around the bullet casings. They shot up all my tires. They shot up my whole car. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, these motherfuckers, you know what I mean? So I was dating some female at that time named Flaco, named Valerie, whose friend was some chick named Stephanie, whose dad was a wood. He had all kinds of heaters. So I'm like, fuck that. I need one of those fucking heaters. They gave me the heater. Next day I went back, boom, shot their fucking apartment up. About 2 days later, we're in my homeboy's truck. I catch one walking down the street about 10 o'clock in the morning with his lady. I try to jump out on him. He pulls this thing like this on me. He busts at us again. So it was going back and forth. We were shooting at each other. And it was like, they never experienced any of that before in Milpitas. You know, you'd have maybe like 4 or 5 shootings a year. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They were pretty much strategic, you know, and a lot of times they were more like the blacks that were doing them on each other out there. And so this changed the whole game because we never had like fucking, these dudes weren't like some Sureños that were upstaters. These were Sureños that were from fucking down south, like real ones. And they were bringing them here. So my little fucking 22 was going, their motherfuckers were going boom, boom. And it was just going back and forth, man.
They were bringing the heat. They were
bringing the heat, bro. They were bringing the heat.
So, so do you get caught up for that? Do you go to prison?
No, I didn't get caught. I shot a couple of them. I shot their car up. I shot 2 of them on the bike. I rode up on them. I shot 2 of them. I didn't get caught for that one. And it was going back and forth. Eventually, they ended up moving out of there.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? About like 6 months, but it was pretty bad. It was kind of scary at times, bro, because they weren't playing, man.
Oh, no.
We had some homeboys from, we had 2 homeboys come from San Jose. Yeah. They're from a hood called Silent Town Norteños, right? Caesar and some other dude. And my homeboy Chody's from my hood used to kick with them. So we catch a Sureño like walking down the street one day, and like we'd have to hit him strategically. Like walking, boom, we have to get out because you never know if they have guns. And we beat the shit out of this dude named Weddle. That was from, I forgot what hood he was from, right? But he worked at McDonald's. So when we seen him at McDonald's, the thing was locked. He started making the phone call. You know what I mean? I said, I go, look, he's gonna call someone up, bro. I'm telling you, these dudes ain't playing around. Next thing you know, bro, fucking, we're in my homeboy's galaxy. This car pulls up right on us and shit. And I said, motherfucker, I duck. Motherfuckers had guns at us like this and shit. The homeboy Chode was somehow related to him through marriage. So he starts taking off. These dudes literally were fucking chasing after us for about fucking 7 or 10 minutes, bro. Literally. They were trying to kill us, bro. It's okay. Homeboy's doing this right here, trying to shift the gears. And as we're going towards Landis Avenue on Park Victoria, the car dies. So I say, just go the opposite way of traffic, right? So we go the opposite way of traffic, and we just jump out the fucking car. I thought I was badass. I tried to run through a fucking door like this and shit. I fucking fell backwards, bro. Next you know, the cops came and all kinds of shit, man. We're like, oh no. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an ugly situation. I'm telling you, gang banging in the 90s, it was like that. I'm sure you have hundreds of incidents. There was a lot of things going on. We were going through the same type of troubles.
Even being about that action, it doesn't mean it doesn't get scary out there, bro.
Whoa, yeah, it's you'd be a fool or a liar and a fat mouth to say that there weren't times when butterflies weren't fluttering or you weren't anxious. Bro. So trip out. So you're getting older now. And you're getting caught up, and now you're building that animosity or that hatred. It's there. So now you go to prison. What's your first case, your controlling case? What do you go to prison for, and what happens when you get to prison?
Drive-by street on some Nortenos.
Red on red.
Red on red.
I know all about that.
You know what I mean? It was on the hood call that's known they're kind of known out there, but at first they really started in Milpitas, which was called Barrio Mas Chingon.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that was one of our main adversaries, you know what I mean? And they were like about 3 or 4 of them that were there from BMC, about 3 that were from this hood called ESN, or no, LMB, and then a couple other cats from KNR. And I see that chick again, Valerie, the one that gave me the gun. Now she's kicking it with him. And she comes out to the car around the corner. I'm like, hey, what's up? She goes, well, they're all back there and shit. I'm like, who? She goes, BMC, KNR, ESN, LMB, like 4 hoods. Fuck them dudes. So they come out. We start talking shit, you know, fucking levas, this and that. We take off. And I'm with my homeboy Rascal. I'm like, bro, we're not supposed to do that, bro. I go, we're going to go back. Plus, I'm drunk too at the time, right?
Yeah.
I used to drink and drive all fucking day. I'm like, we're going back, bro. Fuck this. He's all right, fuck it. He takes off his shirt, fucking, you know what I'm saying? He's like, let's go. So they don't know we're coming. I come up all fucking crazy. But I was being smart about it. I was popping my trunk when we got there.
Yeah.
So when I pull up, he jumps out the car and tries to rush, hits one dude, and the second dude hits him and drops him. I popped my trunk, and I'm using my mom's car because my other car got shot up, right? Yeah. And she had a pan back there that had a rag in it for washing the car. So I grabbed that, and I just started swinging the pan at people and shit. You know what I mean? It wasn't too effective, but at least we went back. We went there after talking shit. I'm like, at least we let them know that we're not going to run or punk out. I go, now that we did this, we're going to go back there and shoot their house up. Let's do it. Picked up 2 youngsters from BMM, went over there, and look, when we're going to go do the shooting, the mom and the niece were in the car. Now, bear in mind, this family was fully like active in those functions. They were like Nortenos, and so forth. The dad and everything. Yeah. The mom used to take her sons to go try to rush my younger homeboys before. So I had no sympathy as far as shooting that house up, even if she was in the house. I wasn't tripping if she got hit back then. So she sees us and she turns around. So as we're shooting the house up, she's right behind us watching. So got rid of the gun. She ended up calling 911. She waited to call her husband to figure out what to do. He told her, Mr. Homeboy, call the cops on us. And that's how I caught my case. So now, where do they send you? You go to San Quentin or not? Well, of course, San Quentin. I was in the jail for a minute. I caught an attempted murder in there. They dropped it though. They couldn't press charges on it. And eventually, I left to go to San Quentin around '97. Okay. I got out for about a month. I had a joint suspension. I got out briefly, and I fucked up that quick. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really count that I got out. I just got out, and I ended up getting caught with a fucking potato peeler. Oh wait. I've never told this story. Got caught with a 32 ounce and a potato peeler. Probation violation, joint suspension implemented. They said the potato peeler was fucking was a weapon, which it was, bro. It was a badass one. But I told him I was going to a barbecue and I needed to make potato salad. So
he was trying to peel somebody's papa.
man, you have to, bro. You had to have something on you, bro. I couldn't carry a gun no more.
Yeah, no doubt. So you get to San Quentin. That's the reception for you guys. Yeah. Traditionally, that's the reception. What happens when you get there? Because now you're where the big boys play. Now you're where the Norteños have established. You're in San Quentin, man. That's a Norteño stronghold. What's it like?
Well, for the first couple of cellies, they were all biceps, believe it or not. So first day, I see two J-Cats getting a fight. The dude takes off on them. I see a dude get shitted on by a seagull. And then I go to showers for the first time. When I hit the corner, first thing I said, bam, there was a fucking he-she with fucking naked like that. And I'm like, oh my God, is this what prison's about? I never went to a shower in San Quentin after that, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, so I was already fucking traumatized the first day I was there, bro. All this as a 19-year-old kid, bro, 18-year-old kid. You know? So I started bird bathing from that point forward and shit, because this was a different time era. This is when the Chirojos were out there, and, you know, there was more convicts at that time. You know what I mean?
Old school.
Less inmates and shit. So basic thing, they didn't have like they didn't have any HSPs or nothing like that. What they did was they just got your 5x5. Because I ended up becoming a TS. Spooky actually put me in position as a TS in Alpine section later on. So I'm there and I'm just learning the ropes. There's a couple of homeboys I knew from San Jose, but I started to adapt pretty well. I started to get to know homeboys from different areas and shit, and I just interacted well. You know what I mean? I just did my thing and was striving, because I left. I was seriously striving, bro. Like I was ready to raise my hand for whatever was going to happen. You know, because I was in the section with Chuco, Little Ray from Salas, Gaio from Sunnyvale. I mean, all kinds of bros and C's were there. So it was good schooling. Junior Rojas, Philip Ortega, Gangster, all these cats that are fucking well known. I was in the same block with them, bro, because they weren't being locked down at that time. So the schooling was good.
Yeah, you were getting education from righteous individuals.
Yeah.
So first time that you raise your hand and then you're presented with the opportunity to wiggle and do a removal or do something like that, and you find yourself in the notorious oil 600, or what is it? It's 6 yard, right? 6 yard. Well, how was it? Tell about the experience, because I know it's different.
Okay, look, I didn't raise my hand. I jumped off when it happened.
Yeah.
Spookio called the green light on the natives. There was a homeboy that was sold up with another native, the older homeboy, like in his 60s. I think he was from San Fran or San Juan. And the native dude took off on him in the cell. Something happened. Like, you have to get out the cell. And so the homeboys were politicking. They said, look, you guys got to deal with your own people. They said, we're not dealing with it. So we said, fuck it. We're going to deal with them. Then we're going to deal with you, is what we thought. So the homeboy, Simone Paul, he had 13 days to parole. And the natives are pretty big. He ends up taking off on dude one-on-one, get him off the yard. And afterwards, boom, they said all of us just fucking rushed, about 4 or 5 of us, bro. And we just got busy, bro. I mean, I was the last one still fighting until the fucking Sergeant Barker from San Quentin hit me with a fucking baton at the time. And then they shot the gun off a couple times. They ended up hitting the MTA with a projectile. And so it was fun, bro. I get to the hole. Chili Willie's above me and Boy from Hollister above me. And I don't know all the procedures, man. They just started doing that in my county jail, where you had to file DTRs, you had a little bit of clecha and so forth. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I was told you get off, you're going to be shown love when you get to the hole and all this stuff. So they're sending me a line. I figured out how to get it in. I'm thinking this is my care package, it's a suit bag. I'm like, oh shit, they sent me a package already. They know I'm here. I tear this fucking shit off, man. Homeboy pulls his line up and he goes, what'd you do with my car? And I'm opening it up and it's nothing but a fucking bunch of wet paper. You know what I mean? So finally, they gave me, I couldn't even write, bro, because I had a broken hand. So I did the best of what I could do, and I was telling them that. So I go to yard, and there was so many C's on that yard, so many bros. It was strictly intimidating, because I'm walking by all the death row yards, boom, 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 right? That are all out there. Some dudes have their red rags, some have their blue rags, you know, and they're just out there doing their thing. And I get to a yard where fucking the formation, everybody's quiet. And you have 4 soldiers, 2 Mexicans and 2 blacks at the fucking front, ready to fucking take off on your ass. And I didn't know what to do. I just went through it, and what am I supposed to do? Oh, shake hands, okay. And so get information. And it was a trip. I never experienced the cadence, we used to fucking march, run laps, the machina, you know, the education they had. It was everything I had heard but hadn't experienced yet.
Yeah.
Saying so. I mean, I was around a lot of good individuals there at that time.
Yeah. Now you're there. And you know what? I felt the same way in Merced County Jail. It's established like that. The first time that you actually are there and see it, it's different. It's
Yeah.
different. It's not like anyone, can tell you. You can hear about it and people are like, oh, it's like this, it's like that. But when you experience it and you're there, you're like, you're nervous because you're around some true hitters, some people that have been around and they're just taking it in stride. It's like nothing to them.
I was there with Greg Pee Wee Lopez, who tried
Mhm.
to go against the NF.
Yeah.
I was there with Chopo McIntosh from Watsonville,
Yeah.
Goose Garcia. I forgot there was a couple of seats from San Fran, a couple from Salinas. Mousy from Daly City was there. Midget from Eastside Hoods.
Mouse. Yep.
Sykes from Goshen was there. Martinez.
My boy Sykes.
Who else? Cobra from Redwood City. I mean, there was all kinds of homeboys there.
Wow. Hey, that's
you know what I mean? Like literally, look, those bros that were on that yard at that time, the C's that they're recruiting now couldn't even be bros like that nowadays. That's how strict it was.
We're talking about some of the most heaviest hitters ever established out of Northern California. Me and Mark Martinez, we go back 30-something plus years.
Yeah.
Shout out to my boy Mouse, a real one in real life. And just a lot of those guys, man. A lot of those guys.
Yeah.
Of course, Fukio that was there, that had the yard at the time. There was just so many individuals. So now you're experiencing it. You get back out, or do you get pulled while you're there as an hermano?
Well, see, they started going through the recruitment in the county jail at the time. I didn't even fucking know it, bro, because that's when they had changed the Northern Norteno Soldado. They asked me if I wanted to be a Norteno, and I said yes. So I hadn't even known that till years later when I got to Corcoran. So when I was striving to be a bro was when I was in Solano. You know what I'm saying? I was getting recruited by a degenerate. Little did I know I was already being recruited. My clearance got stamped for certain for sure, was later by Carlitos, Wino from Oakland, and Cheeto from San Juan. So I ended up having 3 stamps that were C's that stamped my status. And so those were all my sponsors as well. I didn't have an NR member or anything like that as a sponsor. All my teachings came from them, which was kind of cool because I'm learning from C's, that been around. Like I get some stuff from Chilo, I get some stuff from Carlitos, and they really took the time to sit there and educate, which was cool, which I already had a good little amount of education because I'd already been striving. I'd already been being pulled as a bro. Yeah. I'd already actually been pulled as an soldado as far back as 97. I just didn't even know it. You
were striving.
And, so when I got there, I brought that up to every C, like Suave, Chilo, and all them. Man, I said, look, this is my situation. I was getting pulled by this individual over here from Stockton. You know what I'm saying? Next you know, we deemed them no good. What would my standings be? And they said, well, when they checked into it, everything back then used to have like logs. Like they knew every soldado, where they got recruited and so forth. So they're telling me like you were already getting recruited as an Ensol, or they didn't use the word Ensol, but as an N while you were over there in the county jail.
Or a B,
they just reaffirmed everything. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's how it went. The indoctrination process. I already had all the education already. Yeah. Even being around degenerates at times on those lines does not mean that they didn't educate you right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're still educated. Just because they're degenerates, they still got the education. They're just going to give it to you in bite-sized bites and give it to you what they want to give to you. If you got some cold degenerates that have an ulterior motive, they're going to put twists on it. But for the most part, a lot of them still got that burning desire. They're just in a situation that they're in for whatever reason. They'll still lace you up. So now you get out. You're pulled. You get out. Do you automatically check in with the regiment, or do you play it by ear?
Well, see, I was instructed to channel through Carlitos, who was up with Wino. Wino was a captain at that time. People don't really realize that, but he was a captain. Who was he was really close with Corny at the time, so we were plugged in under the GOP regiment. Okay, so I had yet to report because I had to go out there and establish myself. This was, you know what I'm saying, a different time era. Not just anybody could go out there and function. You'd have to be on probation and you have to be evaluated and screened. You'd be told that you had to get your license, insurance, a job, and so forth, and show that you could be productive out there in the streets. Yeah. After I did all that, I wrote a letter. Now, the whole time I was communicating, sending money, whatnot. I had a code. I sent my phone number in. About 10 days or 2 weeks later, I get a call from Ashalik.
Okay.
Daniel Hernandez, Lizard.
Yep. And he plugged you in with the reg, or did he just tell you where to go, what to do, and how you did it?
He told, I won't ever forget this conversation, man. Because Wino told me everything afterwards. He said like this. He goes, "Look, I'm going to plug you in with the brother Robert, which ended up being Chico Rose." He goes, "But I'm going to tell you right now, no one has the authority to give you a green light but me and one other person. You know who that is." He was talking about Wino.
Wino Zarowski, right?
Wino Zarowski was a Cat 3. So Ashley wasn't no Cat 3 or nothing like that. He was Cat 2. You know what I'm saying? So he was supposed to be holding that position until Wino got out. That's what I was told. You know what I mean? Because that's how I ended up meeting other C's was when Wino touched down. But by the time Wino touched down, Chico got locked up. All these cats got locked up on Operation Black Widow.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Wino steps out. I'm still plugged because we have visitors going up there visiting like Skip and Goose at the time. You know, Chico eventually ended up flipping, but Chico tried to tell me to walk away. Yeah. You know what I mean, I will give Chico Rose that. He said, "You've done enough, bro." You know, they knew that they knew this was coming. They set us up for failure and this and that. He told this to the homie Gabe. Because I used to take Gabe up there to go visit Chico. And this is before we knew he flipped. And you know, it's a big old mess, man. Like there's a lot of
you're talking about Gabe C, right?
Yeah. I used to go to Salinas, pick him up, take him to Oakland, let him visit Chico and take him back.
Okay.
And that was all friendship. That wasn't no business shit. You know what I mean? The dudes I was plugged in, they were going up to visit Goose and Skip. So they ended up splitting up our teams. They had one team that was called the 49er team and one team that was called the Raider team. Therefore, they had two crews out there in San Jose. And then we were like the leftover, like, that didn't get caught up in the indictment. It was like me, the other homeboy from Chino, Charlie Campa, Black Steve, all those cats that were producing out that time. You know, but what they did is, I don't know why, they didn't want us all working together for some reason. They wanted to split us up. And which didn't end up too well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we're gonna wait. What I wanted to do is I kind of just wanted to get into your history as a child and the gangbanging of the 90s and get into that. I was hoping to do a part 2 later on.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Maybe in the next couple of weeks, we'll do a part 2 and we'll get into what happened later. You've been very transparent with everything that you've ever done. And I want to get more into your push now as far as being a productive member of society, overcoming addictions. We're going to talk about, and you and I have both talked about how even after you were out of the mix, you found yourself just not caring and still going back, still being caught up with addiction, still trying to hang around homeboys, running up on active homeboys, man, if not blending in with them and doing your thing. So we're going to get to all that in part 2. But again, gente, I just wanted to say this is Flacco from Milpitas. You guys all know, man, tap into Real Talk with Flacco, tap into a convict's perspective. You know, a convict's perspective, most definitely. And tap into the Patreon, man. We're going to get exclusive.
The Rojo Room, all that.
You know, the Rojo Room, Paradigm Media News, you know, the homie Big Box, Dankin' and Drankin', all the homeboys. At the end of the day, man, it's all about the support for the brown people and the uniting of the gente and overcoming these obstacles that we all did in life. Now, I don't want anyone to take any of these war stories in a derogatory form or fashion. It's not to belittle or diminish anything that anyone has done.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's just true stories, raw and facts. And when you tell real stories, you have to tell it the way you feel it and the way you lived it, you know, just what it is. So again, man, Flacco, with that being said, I would love to do a part 2. Please hit that like and subscribe. If you don't like this, it's all good. Hit that thumbs down. Heavy as the head that wears the crown. We're going to continue to push forward, profiling, styling. I hope you guys enjoyed this premiere. You got anything to say, Big Flax?
No, just shouts out to everybody out there, man. Stay positive. And like you said, man, don't misinterpret us telling our stories and our truth of what happened. You know what I mean? As far as trying to glamorize or glorify, we're just telling you what really happened. And there's a message at the end of every story, pretty much.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And don't think that we're all invincible. I've done videos too where I've said I've got my ass smashed on out there in the streets. It's just the reality, man. It happens, bro.
Yeah. You know, in life, everyone's going to tell the stories where they won. No one's ever going to tell the stories where they lost. You could ask anybody that. Doesn't matter what part of California you're from. You know, we tend to forget the ones we took L's on. Anyways, with that being said, gente, gracias para todos for everything. With respect to me and Flacco, Profile Part 2 is coming up in the next couple weeks. Gracias. Bang, bang.